Welcome, fellow historians, to a journey beyond the known chronicles of the Imperium. We often speak of Paul Atreides, the rise of the God Emperor, and the scattering. The forgotten lore, decipher the cryptic symbols, and piece together the epic sagas that shaped humanity's destiny among the stars. Subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss our first expedition into the deep past. The spice isn't the only treasure Arrakis holds.
In those forgotten centuries, when the Imperium trembled between extinction and awakening, one figure stepped beyond the borders of humanity. A boy born of prophecy, a ruler carved by destiny, a god shaped by silence and sand. Leto II Atreides, the child emperor who surrendered his flesh to save a species that would hate him for millennia. So the chronicles claim he chose tyranny. They say he murdered his own humanity. They say he became the monster his father feared. But the truth is harsher, far darker, far quieter. Leto II did not seek power. He sought time. Time enough to break the cycle that had consumed every empire before his. Time enough to forge a future no prescient vision could predict. And to do that, he embraced the unthinkable. A transformation of blood, spirit, and destiny. A metamorphosis that would shatter the known universe. This is the secret behind the Golden Path. A salvation born in terror. And what he became, it was only the beginning. The desert remembers, but humanity forgets. Let us begin. There is a moment in every civilization when the future narrows, when choices collapse, when prophecy becomes a trap rather than a guide. In the chronicles of the Imperium, that moment arrived after the reign of Paul Atreides, the blind god who saw too much, yet not enough. Paul believed prescience could save humanity from its own hunger for power. Instead, his visions revealed a single horrifying truth. Humanity was doomed to stagnate, to collapse, to disappear into its own predictable patterns. And so, a darker burden fell upon his son, a burden no human mind should carry. Leto II saw farther than any oracle before him. He saw civilizations rising and falling with mechanical certainty. He saw humanity repeating itself until extinction became inevitable. He saw predators waiting in the deep future, hunters of stagnant species, conquerors of predictable minds. And then he saw a way out, a path of suffering, a path of tyranny, a path so terrible that even he could barely speak its name. The Golden Path. Not a prophecy, but a correction. Not salvation, but survival purchased through agony. Today, we unravel the philosophy behind that impossible choice. Why Leto II abandoned the fragile beauty of human life. Why he embraced the cold immortality of the sandworm. Why he ruled as a god emperor for 3,500 years. And why, in the end, he believed that freedom could only be born from oppression, if that oppression came from a single, unwilling tyrant. This is not the story of a monster, none of a messiah, but of a guardian who chose to stand alone in the desert of time, so the rest of humanity could one day walk freely. And as the dust begins to rise, we must ask, what does it cost to save a species that refuses to save itself? The chronicles begin long before Leto II's transformation, long before the hushed terror of his millennia-long reign. They begin with a wound carved into the soul of the Imperium, the day Paul Muad'Dib seized the Lion Throne. In those days, the universe believed it had witnessed a miracle, a Messiah rising from desert dust, a prophecy fulfilled in fire and water. But beneath the celebration, beneath the holy chants and the banners raised in Paul's name, a darker truth pulsed like a vein beneath the skin. Paul never wanted the empire he inherited. He saw it in visions. He saw the jihad. He saw the rivers of blood spilled in his name. He saw humanity marching down the narrow corridor of inevitability, a corridor that ended in oblivion. And when he walked into that corridor, he realized what every prescient eventually sees. The future is a trap, not a possibility, not a prophecy. The trap. Prescience reveals patterns. Patterns reveal predictability. And a predictable species is a doomed species. This was the world Leto II inherited, a universe locked inside its own habits, its religions. It's a hunger for charismatic leaders. It's addicted to prescient guidance, a universe drunk on its own myths, unable to evolve, unable to break free. And in the shadow of Paul's failures, Leto II saw the first truth of the golden path. Humanity must never again place its destiny in the hands of a single prophetic vision, not even his. But to end prescient tyranny, he would need to become something beyond it. The transformation began quietly. Whispers among the freemen described Leto and his twin sister Ganima as strange from birth, too calm, too perceptive. Children carry the memories of ancestors, abominations in the Bene Gesserit language, yet prodigies in the language of destiny. And then came the moment that sealed Leto's path, a decision made in stillness, a choice born from ancient instinct. He donned the sand trout, the living skin of Arrakis. The proto-worm that binds water, hungers for shape, and dreams of the colossus it will one day become. When the sand trout sealed around his body, a boundary broke. The boy died. The emperor awoke. Not yet fully worm, not yet fully god, but no longer human. This was only the beginning. As Leto's body hardened, as his senses stretched across time like threads of molten gold, he saw farther into humanity's fate than any oracle before him. He saw the stagnation. He saw the dependency on spice. He saw the dangerous worship of leaders. And worse, he saw the predators waiting in the far reaches of the cosmos. Predators that consume stagnant species. Predators are attracted to predictable patterns. Humanity was prey long before it realized it was being hunted. And so, Leto understood the ancient paradox that had haunted every Atreides visionary. Prescience protects, but it also cages. It shields, but it also freezes. It guides, but it also blinds. Paul had tried to escape the trap. He ran from destiny. He embraced blind wanderings. But you cannot outrun a cage that exists in time itself. Leto would not run. He would break the cage. But to break it, he had to shatter everything humanity found comforting. Their religion, their politics, their access to spice, their belief in heroes, their certainty that tomorrow would look anything like today. In those early years, before the Empire truly understood what was coming, Leto II appeared calm, a young ruler, a quiet prince, a contemplative heir. But beneath the stillness, the metamorphosis boiled like buried flame. The boy had fallen away. The vision remained, a vision so vast it eclipsed stars. And with it came the second truth of the golden path. Humanity must be forced into unpredictability, even if it must first endure a tyranny beyond imagination. The chronicles end this part of the tale with a single, trembling line. And the desert held its breath, for something ancient was stirring beneath the sand, and even the prophets could not name it. The tension rises here, because what Leto became next would unravel the Imperium. The emotional shift begins here, because Act I told us what Leto II saw. Act 2 reveals what the universe refused to accept. In those days, the people of the Imperium still believed in heroes. They believed salvation came wearing a human face, speaking human words, bleeding human blood. Leto II shattered that comfort. When his transformation deepened, when the sand trout's skin hardened into plates, when his body elongated, when his voice began to echo with inhuman resonance, the Empire recoiled. What stood before them was no longer a prince, nor a child of Paul, nor a messiah of Freeman prophecy. He was something unclassifiable, something ancient, something the desert whispered about in older myths, myths from before recorded time. He was becoming Shai-Hulud, and yet not Shai-Hulud, a hybrid creature born of biological choice and metaphysical purpose, a bridge between the future and the past, a guardian carved from prophecy and suffering, the moral paradox of the Golden Path. Here lies the core conflict of Leto's reign. He chose tyranny. He chose violence. He chose control so absolute it left no political air for rebellion to breathe. But he chose these horrors to prevent greater horrors. The Atreides empire had nearly drowned the galaxy in jihad. Billions died in the name of Paul. Billions more spiraled into fanatical worship. The Imperium became predictable, rigid, and blinded by myth. Predictability is death. Stagnation invites predators. And somewhere in the distant future, Leto saw the hunters waiting, silent, patient, perfectly evolved to consume species that lose the ability to change. The Golden Path was his answer, a brutal correction, a forced diversification of the human experience, cultural, spiritual, genetic, philosophical. But none of this could be explained, not in those early centuries, not when fear drowned out understanding. So Leto embraced a mantle he despised, the God Emperor, not a title of divinity, but a shield, a mask, a prison for his own soul, tyranny as a tool. So the chronicles say, he rationed spice to the edge of starvation. He controlled trade routes with the precision of a surgeon. He broke noble houses, dismantled priesthoods, and suffocated old power structures. He made humanity ache, not because he reveled in pain, but because pain forces movement. Pain forces evolution. Pain forces unpredictable paths. Under his rule, no house, no religion, no faction could become powerful enough to steer humanity toward a single fate. He fragmented destinies. He shattered certainties. He disrupted every pattern that prescient minds could exploit. And still, they hated him. They feared him. They whispered of rebellion with trembling voices. But rebellion was part of his design. Conflict keeps a species sharp. Restlessness keeps it alive. The Golden Path demanded chaos, but controlled chaos. Chaos with boundaries. A storm in a sealed jar. Emotional conflict. Leto II versus himself. Yet the darkest conflict was internal. His body, once a child's, now stretched and hardened, losing sensation, losing warmth, losing the humble vulnerabilities of humanity. His emotions dulled. His memories expanded beyond human capacity. He felt ancestral voices whispering. He felt time bending around him. He was becoming eternal, immortal, indestructible. But immortality is not a gift. It is a crucifixion. Every century that passed stripped away something soft, something human, something he could never reclaim. And then, the moment came when he understood the final price. He would live for thousands of years in a body that could never again know comfort, touch, or companionship. He would die alone. And his death would be the most important moment of his reign. Leto II did not sacrifice himself at the end. He sacrificed himself at the beginning and lived with the consequences. The major reveal, the true purpose of his tyranny. The chronicles reveal one of Leto's rare admissions. One night, in the quiet hours of the citadel, he whispered to Duncan, Idaho, "If I do not cage humanity, something else will." This is the revelation that shatters the illusion of his madness. His tyranny was not about power. It was about competition. He needed to be the only tyrant, the only controlling force, the only predictable entity in an otherwise unpredictable species. If humanity learned to rely on his prescience, it would forget how to evolve. If they worshipped him, they would stop imagining alternatives. If they feared him, they would never trust another Messiah again. And that was the point. The universe needed to forget prophecy, to forget the comfort of leaders, to forget the Atreides myth. Only then could freedom truly be reborn. The golden path was not a straight line. It was a crucible in which Leto burned himself, so humanity could walk out the other side unafraid. The act ends here, with a question that trembles through the corridors of history. If salvation demands suffering, who decides how much suffering is enough? And what Leto realized next would tear the last threads of his humanity apart. The emotional shift deepens now, because Act 2 showed us the tyrant. Act 3 reveals the architect. The philosopher was buried beneath the sand and silence. For centuries, historians have accused Leto II of madness. Priests called him a false god. Noble houses cursed his name in private chambers. Rebels painted him as the final Atreides betrayal. But the chronicles written after his death, the ones we now study, show a different truth. A truth so subtle, so brutal, so vast, that even his enemies could not deny it. Leto too understood the paradox of power better than anyone in human history. Power does not corrupt. Comfort corrupts. Predictability corrupts. Safety corrupts. Humanity loves patterns. Humanity clings to saviors. Humanity worships anything that promises certainty. But certainty is the death of evolution. And evolution is the only force that keeps a species alive in a universe filled with predators. This was the heart of the golden path. Not tyranny, not immortality, not prescience, but evolution through uncertainty. Leto too engineered unpredictability. He shattered the myths that made humanity weak. He broke the religious worship that froze their minds. He destroyed the spice monopoly that kept them addicted. He forced migrations, rebellions, cultural fractures, and philosophical upheavals. Every crisis was intentional. Every famine, every shortage, every political fracture. Each event was a chisel against the stone of human destiny, carving a species capable of surviving futures no oracle could chart. The philosophy of the God Emperor. So the chronicles ask, what is freedom? Is it the right to choose? Or the ability to survive the consequences of choice? Leto believed the second, because a species that cannot endure hardship is a species that dies young. He once said, I will teach them to scatter, to run, to hide, to adapt, to become a storm instead of a single flame. This scattering, the great diaspora that followed his death, was the core of the golden path. For 3,500 years, he hoarded spice, controlled every pathway of travel, suffocated every possibility of expansion, until humanity's hunger for freedom reached a breaking point. A pressure so overwhelming that when his empire finally cracked, the explosion hurled humanity across the stars. Billions fled. They scattered into uncharted galaxies. They encountered the unknown. They evolved beyond the reach of any tyrant, any oracle, any prescient cage. Humanity became unpredictable, untrackable, unconquerable. They became the storm Leto II imagined. Modern understanding, a tyrant who hated tyranny. When modern philosophers reflect on Leto's rule, they often ask, was his tyranny justified? Was the price too high? Was the golden path simply an elaborate defense of authoritarianism? But these questions misunderstand Leto's aim. He did not defend tyranny. He used tyranny as a temporary poison, a controlled burn, a purging fire. Every empire before his collapsed because it believed it was righteous. Leto knew he was not righteous. He embraced his role as a monster because only a monster could teach humanity to reject monsters. This is the dark philosophy at the core of his choice. He became the thing humanity would learn to fear forever, and by fearing him, they would resist all future tyrants. His empire taught them to distrust stagnation, to question power, to rebel against certainty, to scatter when threatened, to adapt when cornered. He made humanity suspicious of prophets, suspicious of messiahs, suspicious of anyone claiming to know the future. He used oppression to forge a species that would never again submit to oppression. A paradox, a philosophical trap, a salvation disguised as cruelty. The final meaning, the death that set life free. Leto too knew his death mattered more than his reign. His physical body, the massive hybrid of worm and man, held the future captive. As long as he lived, humanity could not scatter. As long as he lived, they could not evolve. As long as he lived, the golden path remained incomplete. So he orchestrated his own fall. A death not of defeat, but of completion. When his immense form crashed into the sand, when his body shattered into countless new sand trout, a new Arrakis was born. A world no longer enslaved by dependence on spice. A world capable of rebirth. And as the tyrant died, humanity erupted outward. The scattering began. The universe expanded beyond prescient reach, beyond control, beyond predictability. Humanity became a species built for survival, not comfort. A species shaped by pain, but no longer defined by it. A species that could finally outmaneuver any threat, human or otherwise. This is the legacy of Leto II. Not the empire, not the tyranny, not the worship, but the future he carved in silence. A future built on movement, variation, and change. The future where humanity could no longer be hunted, because humanity had finally learned how to run beyond the edge of prophecy. For 3,500 years, Leto II carried a burden no empire could name and no prophet could soften. He became the silence between futures, the immovable weight that held humanity in place until it learned how to move again. His reign was not merciful. It was not justice. It was a wound carved into the timeline so that no greater wound would follow. And when the God Emperor finally fell, the universe did not celebrate. It exhaled, because at last, after millennia of stillness, humanity was pushed into motion, scattered across the stars, unpredictable, ungovernable, untrackable. Exactly as Leto had intended, exactly as the golden path required. He became the monster so humanity could remain human. He embraced the role of tyrant so that no tyrant could ever rise again. He surrendered his own future so the species he loved could have one. This is the paradox at the heart of the Imperium. The greatest act of freedom was born from the longest age of control. And now, as we look back across the desert of time, we are forced to confront the same haunting question Leto once faced alone. If humanity stood at the edge of extinction, who among us would sacrifice our souls to save a future we would never live to see? If you wish to journey deeper into the hidden histories of the Imperium, the myths, the betrayals, the philosophies buried beneath spice and sand, subscribe to Third Age Historian. Because history always repeats. Even in the Imperium,